What is up, everybody? Random Random Man here, bringing you my review for Hacksaw Ridge. Based on a true story, the plot basically follows Desmond Doss, played by Andrew Garfield, an aspiring medic who enlists in the U.S. Army during World War II, vowing to never pick up or fire a gun due to his religious beliefs. Naturally, that is a problem to his superiors and other comrades within the U.S. Army, as Doss sets to prove himself in doing good without firing a bullet. I was very much looking forward to this movie for its concept, its lead, and its director. Its concept of yet another movie set in World War II, coupled with Andrew Garfield in the lead role, had me really curious, but had me even more curious due to the fact that Mel Gibson is directing his. Not only is Gibson a noted actor, having been in franchises such as Mad Max and Lethal Weapon, but he is also an accomplished director, having done Braveheart and The Passion of the Christ. Now, he has pissed off a lot of people since the release of The Passion of the Christ, not only with that film, but also with some things he has said in the past. But I was willing to see what Gibson would bring out with his latest directorial effort. Right off the bat with the cast, I can say that Andrew Garfield is simply phenomenal in this movie. I think he delivers his best performance to date since I first saw him on screen in The Social Network back in 2010. Yeah, he was also Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but this role as Desmond Doss truly impressed me from beginning to end. The rest of the ensemble cast also impressed me. Teresa Palmer plays the love interest to Doss, who eventually becomes his wife. The romance that blossoms between Garfield and Palmer is actually very sweet and cute. We also have Hugo Weaving playing Doss's father. He gives a very heart-wrenchingly emotional performance. But the actors who really surprised me in this movie were Vince Vaughn and Sam Worthington. They play superiors to Doss in this movie, and they easily could have broken it, as they have not had the best track records. These two do great jobs, though. Vaughn is really menacing and funny as this sergeant who really gets on these new recruits' asses, including Doss in particular for not wanting to pick up and fire a gun. Worthington is also great. Basically, everyone in this ensemble cast does a spectacular job. The writing in this movie is terrific. The first section of this film, we get to see Doss from a young age and how we even get to see him grow religious and morally conscious of himself and not wanting to hurt others, even though he eventually enlists in the U.S. Army as a medic. This also really goes into how much development we get to see with him interacting with other characters. We see the real emotion that goes into him and how he wants to keep himself up in a moral light. The first half of this movie is very much the setup in us getting to know Doss, but the second half is when we get to the actual Hacksaw Ridge sequence. So this movie essentially pulls a Full Metal Jacket and having both halves of this movie being completely different than one another. The way this movie flowed really never made me feel bored throughout. It is paced at a little over 2 hours, but it was always riveting to me, even more so once we got to Hacksaw Ridge itself. How the movie looked in its production design. It was really sleek. It made me feel like I was back in the 1940s, what with the dialogue also being really authentic in my mind, and how these characters acted. When we finally get to Hacksaw Ridge itself, though, we get to witness fan-freaking-tastic direction from Mel Gibson. The action sequences in this movie are uncompromisingly violent. Really intense, a lot of bloodshed, a lot of explosions, ammunition flying everywhere, bloods, guts. I think these war sequences are some of the best I have ever seen. Definitely up there with some of the greatest war movies ever made, including what is in my opinion the greatest one, Saving Private Ryan. Along with the excellent action, adding back to more of the writing, I really also have to commend this movie for its religious subcontext. Filmmakers out there, pay attention to what this movie does and how it presents religion. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen religion in movies just shove it in your face to the point of being preachy propaganda. Hacksaw Ridge does not do that. Once again, Doss is a character who wants to help serve his country in the U.S. Army, but doesn't want to kill. He's very adamant in not killing. We get to see how religion instills a sense of hope and faith in this guy, and how inspiring it is to see this guy really build up himself. Really, the only complaints I have with this movie are minor nitpicks in retrospect. I did praise the technical elements and how the action is supremely well done. I really love the cinematography, the editing, the musical score. But I would have to say that at certain points in the movie, it's obvious when you see it. Some shots really were obvious in that they were done with CGI and they didn't look the best. You can tell that this movie was made on a lower to mid-range budget. There's also some random nightmare sequence that lasts like 10 seconds with Doss. Other than those qualms, I loved Hacksaw Ridge. Mel Gibson is back directing an honest and fierce look at war and how one man set out to do his own actions that would benefit himself and those around him. I really want to have a lot of nominations be bestowed onto this movie come Oscar time. I don't know if Mel Gibson in particular will get a Best Director nomination. I don't know how the Academy feels about him now, but I am pulling through for Andrew Garfield to get a Best Actor nomination. He is that amazing in this movie. This is one of the best war movies I've seen in recent memory. I will hold it up there against the likes of Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, another great war movie, and I even think it comes close to the iconic greatness of Saving Private Ryan. Hacksaw Ridge is one of my favorite movies of 2016, a truly excellent war movie. I highly recommend it. My final verdict for Hacksaw Ridge is 4.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Hacksaw Ridge, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.